Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Those that follow me already know that my name is Dr. Ozcan and I am a GP trainee. Now today we're going to be talking about a very controversial TikTok video that has since been taken down that have gotten doctors and nurses very angry, including myself. So a little bit of a background, I am at the end of my second year of training. I'm currently on maternity leave and I went to medical school in a university in North London and did my foundation years, which is a 2 years post-graduation in a North London hospital, and my GP training I did in part in that same North London hospital before moving on to a GP practice. Now we have a TikTok video that was released by the Barts Hospital's corporate offices. Let's watch it and then we'll go on to why it was so insulting. So there we are. It looks very innocent, doesn't it? But when we get into the details of things, you realise why it is so insulting. Now, Barts Hospitals is one of the hospitals in North London, and the doctors and nurses that work for them don't even have a quarter of the facilities that are shown in this particular video. In fact, many doctors and nurses across the country do not have anywhere near as nicer facilities as this office does. And the problem isn't bashing the corporate offices at the hospital for why they have it so good. It's about why the facilities for the medical staff aren't even close to what they have. Now, let's go through the video step by step and I'll tell you and show you what I mean. So the first thing that they show are well-being rooms on each floor, which shows nice sort of seating, calming pictures, somewhere to go and be mindful and just shut yourself off from the world and basically calm down. Now, I want to go by example when I give you these examples, and the hospital that I was at is a different North London hospital, but going by what the nurses and doctors are describing, our experiences are very similar. So at the hospital that I was working at, we had something called a doctor's mess, and doctor's messes are designated areas for doctors to go and eat, rest and basically chill whilst they're on their breaks. The hospital I was at, the mess was across the car park. It was in sort of a basement area. It was cold. It had leather sofas that were peeling. It had some weird mattress on the floor with a bed sheet that had probably never been changed. It had a kettle that I don't even think was working, and it was just very dreary and depressing. So nobody ever actually stepped foot in the doctor's mess. For example, if you're on call and you want to take a break, you don't want to be halfway across the car park if there's an emergency call, do you? No. Most of the restrooms are just tables and wooden chairs, a fridge, and if you're lucky, you might get a small TV, and that's it. Nowhere to lie down, nothing very restful about it. And if you think about how important it is for healthcare professionals to rest, so when they go back out onto a ward to look after patients, they need to be refreshed, they need to be rejuvenated, they need to be ready to give their 100% because you can't be making mistakes. Now let's go on to the next part of the video. And in this part of the video, we see a Sage Barista Touch coffee machine. This coffee machine is quoted to be £1,400. Wow. Compare that to what we get on our breaks, which is instant coffee granules, and that's if you take them in, because the ones in the tin are usually all clumpy and someone's put their wet spoon in it and it just looks gross and disgusting. It probably doesn't have an expiry date on the tin, so you don't even know how long that's been sitting there for, brewing bacteria, so you probably just leave it. You decide to go to Costa, but Costa probably closes at like 5 o'clock. So if you're on call or doing a night shift, you have no access to Costa either. And then you have the patient trolleys where it dispenses instant coffee. And that tastes absolutely vile. And most often you are stared down very, very badly if you go anywhere near that, because it is for patients. So doctors and nurses are not allowed to touch that trolley. What I used to do, I used to take my coffee in a thermos mask and just hoped that it was still warm by the time I went on my break. And when I mean warm, I mean it was cold. Now, the next part of the video shows an abundance of snacks that can be locked away. Now, we're not worried about the snacks. We can buy our own snacks. We can bring them in. We're not that worried. Actually, there's an abundance of snacks that always go around the wards because patients are very grateful and they give us lots of chocolates and packet of biscuits and so on. The bit that really gets everybody is the fact that you can lock your snacks away. Excuse me? We don't even have a locker to put our uniform or our bags away. Most often what happens is that the nursing team within a ward get the priority over the lockers that are there because they are there long term. Doctors who are in training are there from about 3, 4, 6 months, maximum to a year before they rotate around. Whereas nurses, once they are working there on a particular ward, they can be there for years. So once they get their locker space, it's usually theirs. And because this happens with a lot of nursing staff, when doctors come around, there are no lockers to use. So what I used to do is I used to take my bag and I used to have to dump it underneath one of the office tables in the doctor's room. It wasn't very safe. I actually have a friend who had her jewellery stolen by a patient from her bag, which was in the doctor's room while she was on call. In addition to this, there are often no changing spaces for medical staff. If you walk into a room that has scrubs stacked up on the shelf, you'll look around, and there's actually no designated changing space. Yeah, you heard that right. You'll have a toilet cubicle, and you'll have maybe a shower cubicle, and that's about it. And then you have a small floor space, which I'll show you. I think I have a picture of me in the A&E department, where you are expected to get changed and put your belongings away. And imagine everyone's doing that at changeover. It is mayhem. It's not hygienic and it's just inhumane. They have digital screens which shows them live updates of the underground and curved screens, which is a stark contrast to the quality of technology that we get whilst on the ward rounds. Believe it or not, when I was on ward rounds, we have devices called cows, which are computers on wheels. And oh my goodness, the length of time that I have to spend to get them to turn on, to get them to sign in, and to actually get to the patient that you want to without it crashing. Oh, and then you write a whole ward round entry and then it crashes. The amount of time, if I collected the amount of time that it takes me to do all of that, I probably would have at least an hour extra to spend with patients doing all of the work that I need to do. The technology, the interface, the software, the internet speed is just shambles. And I don't know if it's because it's such a big building, such a massive network, and there's so many people that are using the same system that it just doesn't run efficiently. But I'm sure there are better ways of doing it if the finances were there. But clearly the finances are being spent elsewhere. And then it moves on to pods for working and for snoozing. Now, in terms of hospital spaces, so in the hospital that I was working at, majority of the doctor's offices could only fit 2 people in there, although the doctor's team were a team of at least 4 or 5. So you could fit 2 people in there. It had no window and it had no ventilation. So imagine how we were working during the summer months with no airflow. And I guess sometimes it's to do with the design of the building. You just can't do very much about it, which is fair. But pods for sleeping. Now, when I'm on call or doing a night shift and you get 5 minutes to yourself where you just want to sit in a dark room because at the end of the day, it's not a natural time for you to be awake and your body is pushing you to rest, especially when you have some downtime. It's very nice to just be able to sit in a dark room, to have just close your eyes and just to lay on something soft to rest so that you can get going for the rest of your shift. Most often what we used to do is we used to put some chairs together to make a makeshift bed, or, sorry, as I was talking, my battery cut out. As I was saying, the type of breaks that I used to get was either to sleep on a very uncomfortable two-seater sofa in this particular office that I remember smelled like a farm. That's the only way I could describe it, and I could not work out where the smell was coming from, but it was disgusting. Something must have died somewhere. I'm not sure how, what, but it just smelled like a farm. Anyways, so that's an example of one of them. The second one is when we used to put chairs together to make like a makeshift bed to just lay down. You don't understand the importance of just being able to lay down sometimes. And then the third thing we used to do is if we found any sort of spare hospital beds that were just lying around in the corridor that hadn't been used for like weeks, sometimes they were broken, they had like broken wheels and stuff, we'd lay on those. So we didn't get any snooze pods or anything fancy like that, nothing. Now, I am all for working standards to be made appropriate for employees, and I'm very happy for the employees of this corporate office that they are getting these amazing benefits. But when there is a stark contrast to the medical team that are working on the ground to actually keep the hospital going, that's where it's very insulting. And that's where it's very upsetting. And this is part of why the morale within the team is just so low. People just feel so undervalued. They just seek to go elsewhere, which is why there's a lot of medics dropping out, moving to a different country, because the system just shows them that they don't really care. As long as you're there doing the work, which you probably have to because you're scheduled to, and you're in a training program, so you're working towards something, they don't really care what standards you're working with. They don't really care if you've got a hot drink or a hot meal. That's another thing. The canteen closes at like 5. There is no access to hot food. Even though the hospital runs 24/7, the canteen and the coffee shop does not. Anyways, I don't want to go on too long about this because the points that I've made and the TikTok video speaks for itself. If you did enjoy this video, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up so it actually reaches places that it's meant to, because we made such a big fuss about this TikTok video online that the Barts team actually had to take it down because it was so offensive. And of course, if you want to watch my journey as a GP trainee, what I get up to at work, what I've been doing, my maternity leave, and all sorts about me, then all you need to do is subscribe and watch my upcoming videos. See you later, guys. Bye.